We've got a highlight-packed edition of the State Champs Esports show for you this week with Overwatch, Smash Brothers, and Valorant action, so make sure to stick around for all the fun. Hello, I'm your host Candace, and besides all the many esports recaps on this week's show, we'll also have an in-depth game review and a brand new interview. But before we get into all that, let me take a quick moment to mention Lawrence Tech and Hungry Howie's. They are both incredible supporters of our show, so we always want to show them some love and of course encourage you to check them out for yourselves online. Now, let's start off the show by taking a look at a Week 3 match from our Overwatch tournament featuring Macomb, Dakota, and Melvindale's varsity team.
Let's take a look at our Overwatch highlights for Week 3 of our State Champs tournament. Here we have Melvindale and Dakota facing off on Map 1. Watch the great teamwork by Melvindale here to get point control, but the map would go to Dakota. Watch this team fight from Ryan's perspective. He lands a big time shatter and follows it up to help Dakota take Lee Zhang. Then on map 2, Melvindale would answer back here on Streets Face. McCree picks up 3. However, Dakota has DPS 2. It's a Hanzo play of the game, and he's got a Zarya on his team. Well, you know what that means. Rav Dragons, but he'll take out 2 more on top of that, and Dakota would continue to benefit from great DPS play on Rialto. Here, McCree just kind of takes out the whole team himself. Who doesn't love that? But Melvindale wouldn't go down without a fight. Here is an absolutely massive Riptire to help them here on Rialto, but they would still fall in the map. In the end, Window plus Ash equals a whole lot of damage, and Dakota would take the series 4-0.
Thank you, Ethan. If you want to find out more about him and his gaming background, check out my interview with him featured on our most recent episode of the Gamers Unlimited podcast. Make sure to listen, subscribe, and of course tell all your friends about it. Now let's check out some Valorant and Super Smash Bros. Finals from the Illinois High School Esports Association.
Illinois High School's Esports Association finished up the finals of its Varsity Valorant playoffs on January 30th. The finals saw 4 of 8 teams face off: Barrington, Whitney Young, York Varsity Team 1, and Niles West. In the bronze match, we had York Varsity Team 1 versus Niles West. The set ended with Niles West 1 to York Varsity's 2. In the finals, we saw Barrington and Whitney Young face off in a best-of-5 set. In the first and second round, we saw Barrington take the win with a 13-round lead to Whitney Young's 1. In our third and final match, Whitney Young was able to get a victory in 2 rounds, but ultimately lost to Barrington, who again won 13. I want to congratulate Barrington on their victory, as well as all those who competed. It was a very well played tournament.
Barrington with a no respect peak.
Joey Agile, there it is. One more pick needed, and that is it.
Defenders
your
win.
Barrington Broncos, your IHSEA Valorant State Champions. Whitney Young will take second, and as we saw earlier today, York is going to be taking third. Your Valorant season for Varsity just finished, Coach Kennedy.
Oh, it's been a fun year, been a fun season.
Illinois High School Esports Association held its Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Playoffs Finals on Saturday, February 6th. The final started with Veery and Noodle finishing up the winner's bracket, Veery playing as Rob and Noodle playing as Wii Fit Trainer in a best-of-5 set. The result of the match was Noodle with 1 win to Veery's 3. The grand finale came down to Veery and Ice Knight, who lost to Veery in the winner's quarterfinal bracket. Ice Knight would win their way through the loser's bracket to find themselves facing Veery again in the grand finale. In a best-of-7 set, Veery chose to play Rob while Ice Knight played Greninja. The last set ended with Ice Knight winning 3 games to Veery's 4. In an interview after the tournament, Veery had this to say.
I'd like to thank Ice Knight for that amazing set. That was a real nail biter, and I was like shaking the whole time. It was super intense, and I would just love to play another set like that again.
I'd like to congratulate Viri for taking the state title, as well as congratulate all who competed. We saw a lot of impressive gameplay.
He gets the up smash, not the finish yet. He gets the up air, and that's going to be it. Zooms in on Viri as he takes her state title in Game 7.
Hars here. This week, I've got a breakdown of God's Fall. It's a very hard, Souls-like game about hunting gods. Gods Will Fall is an action-adventure game developed by Clever Beans Studio. It released on all current consoles and PC. The story follows a group of humans hunting down the gods that have terrorized them for many years in strange new lands. After the intro cutscene, loosely explaining the story with some fantastic artwork, you show up on the shore of this island with 8 different warriors from different clans. Each has its own random weapons, skills, and even relationships with others that can give them bonuses. For example, if one character was saved by another, they'll get bonuses to save the other. Or, if a warrior's had a dream about dying in that dungeon, they do get negative bonuses going in. However, if they beat the dungeon, they get permanent buffs for overcoming the challenge. This back and forth between relationships, world events, and relations with the gods really makes each warrior feel like an individual and have their own weight and playstyle. Each warrior also has a backstory that you can look at that also sums up whatever has happened to them most recently. The island acts as a hub world. Your group can travel through the island freely, encountering dungeons and world events. The gods themselves inhabit dungeons or realms in which they rule. Followers and creatures of the gods act as enemies, and the maps make some very interesting layouts that tell a story as you play, about what kind of god you will fight. Within each run, the realm's difficulty is randomized. Killing creatures there will lower the god's total health pool, making the fight a bit easier when you get to them. The gods themselves vary from extra difficult to dying with a quick few repetitions, which can make the game feel a little bit lackluster. However, each fight is extremely unique, and how they affect the environment is always a fun challenge. There is really nothing to tell you if a level's difficulty is higher than others on each run, so you almost have to sacrifice warriors to see if it's even worth pursuing, which can definitely be frustrating. I tried it with the keyboard and the controller, and the controls are definitely more catered to the controller. Combat is pretty straightforward. Each weapon has a light attack, a heavy attack, along with dodging, and it rewards aggressive style of play in which you can heal yourself for the amount of damage you've dished out. Parrying is kind of difficult starting out, but once you learn it, it makes the standard enemies pretty easy. Most attacks are hefty, and once you commit to it, you can't really dodge until the animation is done. While the graphics are a bit stylized, I feel like this strengthens the game's visuals. It gives the grotesque creatures and the body horror looking bosses more of a grungy feel, which really drives home the really unique character designs. The player characters, however, can look kind of weird sometimes in my opinion. With a few annoyances, overall though, Gods Will Fall was a very difficult but very fun game for me. Once you get into a rhythm, you can beat the game pretty quick, so if you're looking for a relatively short but challenging game, oozing with weird imagery, I would definitely pick this one up.
Up next is Kevin with a recap of a recent Overwatch tournament with state champion teams from across the country. Take it away, Kev.
The Illinois High School Esports Association organized an Overwatch State Champions tournament that featured teams from across the country. Our friends over in Wisconsin streaming a few matches, and we've got some action on tap courtesy of Edgewood Esports and IHSEA. The opening round saw Menominee Falls from Wisconsin taking on Illinois' Naperville North. The squad from Menominee Falls fell in 2 straight in the best-of-3 series to Naperville North. North would punch their grand finals ticket by sweeping Linn-Mar from Iowa and Xavier from New York in the next 2 rounds. And how about Edgewood? They made it past the opening round, sweeping Richardson from the state of Texas. And they met up with Xavier in the second round and fell to the X squad with yet again another sweep. That threw Edgewood and Menominee Falls in the losers bracket, where Edgewood beat their foes from the state of Wisconsin. Naperville North will face the winner of the losers bracket on Saturday, February 13th. Edgewood, Richardson, Xavier all have a chance to sneak their way into the grand finals.
To close close out the show, Joel has an interview with one of the educators behind the Michigan High School Esports Federation.
Joel Graves here with Dylan, who is from MIHSEF, which is the Michigan High School Esports Federation. How are you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I wanted to first talk, before we get into MIHSEF, I wanted to talk about a little bit about background on you, how you became an educator, how that maybe led into the role of MIHSEF and your leadership over there.
I went to Eastern Michigan to get my degree and was lucky enough to get landed at Grass Lake for my first job, which I'm still employed at today. Yeah, I got into esports about 4 years into the job. Students approached me and said, you should sponsor an esports club. And at the time, I really didn't have a grip on what esports was. I played games in high school, PlayStation and all that, but I took a long hiatus and I still gamed, but I wasn't a gamer who had my pulse on my finger on the pulse of the scene. The students, I originally said no, I just didn't have time. I was a new teacher. I had a lot of responsibilities and it didn't sound like something that really was going to be a productive outlet for the students. But they came back to me and asked again. I said no again. And they gave me some information. I started to look into esports and I saw the opportunities that it gave kids. And I thought, this is just a win-win-win. So we formed a team. We originally started to compete in the LTU tournament for League of Legends. And then from that, opportunity after opportunity, connection, college advisor after college advisor started to reach out. And I just went all in. We went from playing with some national leagues to the formation of our own Michigan-based high school league. So the reason why we did this was because the experience that we had in playing in the national leagues was just inconsistent and unpredictable. So the students weren't having a good experience. Other high schools in the Michigan area reached out to us at Grass Lake and said, we saw that you're enrolled in this league. Did you have a similar experience? And we kind of had a similar history with the programs that we were involved with. So we sort of, over the course of the phone call, decided maybe we should just try to do this ourselves. And the idea snowballed. We met a few times for some organizational meetings at the member schools that originated MIHSEF. And then from that point on, we just started reaching out to other schools. We started doing speaking demos at conferences. We've spoken at Macomb. Our first season was successful. This is when we were able to be in person. So we kind of developed a handbook and how to start a program at your high school and what expectations should be. We trained our advisors at the different schools how to communicate with other teams, how to set up matches, how to work through problems, and through word of mouth and through a little bit of our own marketing, we were able to branch out. Now we have maybe 45 or 50 schools throughout the state, including the UP, that compete regularly in our seasons. And this will be our 4th season, but our 2nd year of competition. So we have 2 seasons. We have a fall and we have a spring season.
High school administrators are taking charge and taking lead and doing it for the students. It's not about money, it's about helping the students, because I think it's very important that students come first.
We take into consideration a lot of student input. So for example, for the game titles that we play, of course we try to mirror what the colleges are playing, because we're trying to give the students, again, opportunities to get scholarships and have that seamless transition from high school to collegiate play. Even the games that they want to play, we do surveys to say, what would you like to see? We try to give them as much of what they would like as possible. We even run the rule sets by them for approval through our advisors, and they get feedback from the students, and we get exit surveys that say what went well, what would you like to see change for the year. We're about to launch our spring season here. It starts official play on the 16th, I believe. We're going to be playing Fortnite. We were able to get creator codes for that from Epic, and we're going to be playing Super Smash Brothers. We're playing that as a team format, and then we're also going to be playing Rocket League as duos. So we played Rocket League 3-on-3 during the fall, and there's a big push for that game to played again from the students. So we responded to their demands, and we're going to offer Rocket League as duos.
Great job, Joel. That's it for this week's show, but before we go, we've got a quick update on the inaugural Lawrence Tech Varsity Esports team. They've been recruiting and are very close to announcing their first team members. We'll have that for you next week, but in the meantime, go to ltuathletics.com and fill out the Recruit Yourself form if you'd like to join the team. Scholarships and many other perks await, so check it out today. Thank you so much for watching from everyone here at State Champs Esports. We'll see you next time.